administrator will be happy to answer any questions you have with regard to that process. We thank you in advance for your cooperation, and we'll begin with the first item, which is concerned with some renovation plans at 118 Driftwood Lane. The homeowners are Ted and Claire DeCosmo, and Alan Osgood is the agent. Is Alan here tonight? No?
I did not.
They didn't say any letter to
No,
this.
we did not. Nope.
Well, we'll table that to the end of the meeting. Do I hear a motion to table?
Move to table.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the next item is concerned with putting a sign up at 27 Ancient Way, which is the cemetery. And the town of Yarmouth is coming to appeal that so we have Pat Armstrong with us tonight.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Pat Armstrong, Director of Community Services, Town of Yarmouth. I put before you this evening a request to begin the process of putting permanent signage at our town cemeteries. And the first and only cemetery that is within the Old Kings Highway District is the Ancient Cemetery located on the corner of Center Street and Ancient Way. The cemetery has burials as far back as the early 1600s, and we felt it was time to be able to put a name along with some history on that property. So I went to a number of our neighboring communities and saw how they had done signage at their cemeteries within the historic district, and found that there was two print shops that actually did hand-carved signs, which were beautiful for both the town of Barnstable and the town of Harwich. And why recreate the wheel when something so attractive has already been done? So understanding that they have different background colors on theirs, and Yarmouth is known for its forest green, and working with the fancy sign shop down in Orleans, who was aware of all of the Old Kings Highway regulations. And as you can see from the application before you, the paint chip is Old Village Paint Forest Green, which is approved by the Old King Highway. I present to you a sign design that we feel is not only appealing, but would be appropriate for the history of our cemeteries, which, as I said, go back as far as the 1670s. Following your requirements, we did make an adjustment to the initial post, because the post cross beam can't be greater than 6 feet from the ground, and the sign itself, because of its the readability, is 45 inches high, so it's just a little less than 4 feet. So that's not a lot of clearance to the ground, but would be ample, we feel, in the winter months. And looking at where to place this sign, there were three options of placing this sign, and we wanted highest visibility. The main entrance now to the Ancient Cemetery is actually on Ancient Way, halfway up. To put the sign there would really not show the sign in to passersby. The second option would have been the center gate that sits right there on Center Street. But that center gate was designed for a day when you brought your horse in, and maybe a buggy. And a number of people have tried to bring their SUV through there and gotten a little damage. So we didn't want to encourage people who would see a sign at that point and think, well, I guess that's how we get in there, to go there. So the third choice would be to place it on the corner again of Ancient Way and Center Street. And at that location, we previously had a hydrangea plant which ran with all the other hydrangeas along that roadway, and it didn't make it. And so there's an opening within the landscape that would be appropriate and would fit this sign nicely. So that, from the pictures, I hope you can tell, is where I've suggested that we put it, and back enough that it wouldn't be a turning hazard for people coming out of Ancient Way onto Center Street.
Yep.
Or vice versa. So we've thought it through pretty clearly. We certainly are open to any suggestions and recommendations from the committee, and that's my presentation tonight.
Thank you, Pat.
Are there any abutters?
Good.
The ones inside the gates didn't have any complaints with this at all.
Just had to ask.
I thank you. I just had to say that. Thank you for the opportunity.
I'm just curious what this exterior material is that it's made of?
Extera is a form of composite wood. It has a life that, because of the weight of the sign, a cedar sign would not last as long in the posts, and we're afraid because of maintenance issues that we would damage the sign as it would fall quicker. So the company suggests the Extera, which is a much more stronger composite, but when painted in there, it looks just like a cedar post.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I think it looks very nice. Move to
Yeah.
approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good.
Thank you very much.
You have to sign the document.
Okay.
Just gonna have it.
This one,
Owner, contractor, agent?
right? And then I'll co-sign it. And it just says that you're going to do it according to plan.
Yeah.
Any changes, come see us. Thanks, Pat.
Thank you, Richard, very much. Thank you all. Have a good evening. Go home and watch the basketball game.
Ah, yeah. Thank you. The next item is concerned with the installation of 22 solar panels on the south-facing roof at 279 Setauket Road. George and Liz Babcock are the owners. Do we have them? Yes, we do.
Good evening. Liz Argo Babcock. George is to my right.
Oh, I frequently drive past your house, but I never knew it over the last 40 years.
And you going by as you go down to Fallon's Pond? No.
No, as I go on Setauket Road,
Oh, okay.
you're there and everywhere.
You can't see us from the road, so
No.
no.
Which is very germane to your application.
Indeed it is, especially because the south side of the roof is even further away from the road.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there any abutters to this application? Well, for the aforementioned reasons, I have no objections. Move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. So, I have a question.
Sure.
You have listed here 365 watt, 360, 55. What are you putting up?
Besides solar panels?
No.
Oh, what kind?
Yeah,
I think those are the LNG.
right. But they have different power levels.
They usually give a range because they are tested to have a, under perfect circumstances, kilowatt production. That's a nameplate rating, but not all, conditions are not always perfect, so they give the solar panels, which are put through a rigorous test to see where they come. Not all of them hit the high end, and some of them hit the low end, and so they still pass muster as being considered a 365.
Okay, so they call them a 365, but it may go down as low as 350, depending on exact process.
Yeah.
Good, okay. So, we're all set.
Okay, do I have to sign anything?
You just have to sign this
Okay.
sheet. This is, you're gonna do it according to plan, and if you change it, you let us know in advance. Give you that. Yeah, if you sign on the top, I'll sign. Thank you. Good luck with it. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
The next item is concerned with a bit of demolition. The location is 138 Route 6A, and it's a house that's currently owned by David Swift. And Mark and Karen Leowen are the potential buyers, and they're going to, there are two items here. One is the demolition. We break them up. One, do the demolition, and then we'll do the additions, so to speak. So, good evening. How are you?
Hello,
Good.
You just state your names for the record, please.
Mark Lowen.
Karen Lowen.
Okay.
So way back when, there were no stone steps there. Looks like there would. And there was no porch.
That's right. The oldest photo we could find is included in yours. Should look like this.
Right.
I think it's probably turn of the century, and it shows some wooden steps down the front porch.
Right. So some way along the way, that went off and they changed. Good.
And this photo is essentially the look that you would be striving for?
Well, I don't. The current, right? That turn of the century photo. shows a large porch with a function of herding passengers over to the carriage, which was the transportation, obviously, of the time. We did not draw in such a large porch on the front. That wasn't our vision.
It'd be more to restore it how it currently looks with do you have the current picture
Right.
in front of you? Do you have that numbered here?
Right, so the component of the demolition with regards to the front porch steps, again, that's a really recent addition. The stone steps probably went in within the last 5 to 10 years. And then the second component of the demolition being the upper porch, which went in within the current owner's memory and is not included in that turn-of-the-century photo.
So just dealing with this aspect of the in other words, this application.
Right, the demolition.
The most conspicuous change would be removal of that porch, which is an excellent idea. I think pretty obviously. So I'm enthusiastically in favor of this application,
Great.
and I move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We'll take care of the paperwork on this when we do the other one.
Okay.
The next item is same location, 138 Route 6A,
Richard, are there any abutters present?
just the owner.
He owns Hallett's.
Across the street. Yeah, good, okay. I thought perhaps you were David Swift.
No.
He was here once about
I recognized
10
you, but I
years
had a
ago.
feeling that if you wanted to address us, you were probably saving your fire for the second application. That was my guess. I may have been wrong in that. Hope not.
I'm just curious what's going on.
Okay.
Good. Okay, this next item is concerned with renovations to first rebuild wood steps and removal of the porch and screening from the front porch, eliminate 2 first-floor entrances on the east side of the house, replace the second-story door with a window. Obviously, when we take the deck off, we don't want somebody to walk out onto
Exactly.
the roof with nothing there. And we'll turn the breezeway into an open porch with new steps, jack up the garage where it's sagging, and replace missing window, reside where necessary, and paint the house Sherwood green with doors Newburyport blue and white trim, and install a white picket fence at the front of the property. And there are a lot of trees growing kind of wild, and so some of them would be taken out.
Would you consider yourselves to be preservationists?
The goal is restoration, so, yeah, I mean, that's what we have in mind.
I was hoping you would say yes.
Yes.
I am too.
Okay. house is sort of Sherwood green now. I think it's more
Due
like
to the lichen?
moss.
Yeah.
It's gone through battles.
You have the best view of it, right?
For the last, that was probably 14, yes.
What about the shutters?
I would prefer to not have shutters.
Is it just that one set of shutters on the front?
There's, on the front, there's, I think, one set of shutters, and then there's some missing already.
Were they useful? I mean, did they close and
No,
move?
no.
Your historic photograph does show shutters on the front facade of the house,
It's
on the two
built-
windows flanking the main entryway.
Yeah, there's two on the
Correct.
opposing side of the door there that have two windows. with
There's
shutters
two
on.
windows, both of them have shutters.
That's the only ones I've ever noticed that's ever
Yeah.
been on that house, because the others don't conform to the windows.
Yeah.
It was built in 1850, and I used to live in a house built around 1850. It looked a lot better than this. And it had shutters all over the place that actually worked. And I remember painting them frequently, taking them off and putting them back up.
I wonder if they were original. They don't seem to quite fit.
Yeah, with
It's almost as though they
the
were
architecture in general.
added at a later date.
Yeah, they don't look quite right.
Yeah, with the mansard roof.
So I have this book that I thought I would just read a brief passage about this house. It's referred to as mid-19th century French Second Empire. Book is called Yarmouth's Old Homes and Gathering Places. It was published in 1989, so 30 years ago. The last 30 years have not been very kind to that property, sadly. This house with its mansard roof and dormers offers a nice visual change from the many earlier houses along this scenic stretch of road. It's very rare architectural style for Yarmouthport. There is a great old barn out back, and the whole has a comfortable, well-used look. That's a euphemism, but if you can resurrect that carriage barn, I think it was a carriage barn originally. In addition to resurrecting this house, I think it's a noble pursuit. I wish you every luck, and I'm excited about seeing this house
Good.
restored.
Yeah, we are too. We've been driving by it for 12 years with our eye on it and decided to do it, so.
Good for you.
Is your principal use it as residential property?
Yeah, we won't be moving into the house. It'll be a year-round rental, probably.
Yeah, we've lost some old barns and carriage houses in town, and I often because of the sagging and demolition permits have been granted by this committee. So I'm glad we're not looking at a demolition permit for that
Right.
carriage house.
Now, most of the windows, well, maybe, I don't know, a lot of them anyway, look like 2/2.
Yes.
Is that what they are?
2/2 or 2/1, right?
2/2 is,
2/2
yeah,
is up
many
the
of them are
top,
2/2.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because on the drawing for the new arrangement, you didn't indicate any. I think I'd like to keep the 2/2, don't you? Yeah.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Agree, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that'll be our plan.
And going by the description and looking at your diagrams, looks like you're removing 6 exterior doors? Is that right?
Yes, I think there's one room that has 5 exterior doors in it alone, so.
I think that's a good plan.
we'd be taking a lot of windows out and.
It's really
repairing?
just restoring it
They're
to look
pretty-
how it already does, but
Okay.
nicer.
Good.
I think the garage doors are very appropriate.
Yeah.
I noticed when I drove by today that the flat section of the mansard roof on the principal structure appears to be asphalt shingle. Are you going to change that to wooden cedar shingles?
No, the shingle color I think is on there. I forget what
No,
it's
no, I'm talking
called.
about
Oh,
before you come down to the mansard section of that roof in the front. Unless I wasn't focused properly, the
The-
top
the-
flat part
Yeah.
appeared to be asphalt. I just wondered if you were planning on changing that.
I believe the last roofing was done somewhere around a half century ago, and because I found on the internet a picture from about that time that looked fairly new, and it looked like asphalt shingles on both sections, and where the vertical part of the mansard roof has deteriorated, now we're seeing what was underneath it as the cedar shingles, but yeah, that was all covered over. And our current plan is to go with the durable asphalt, but to use a wood color.
Since there's so much roof visible, it would be nice to see cedar, I think. No?
No. They won't last.
They don't last.
Not a question of lasting, it's a question of historic accuracy and preservation.
That building would make it 100%, and they make a natural, it's a synthetic shingle that looks like wood.
There's
that the color
no
that-
mention of the shingles here, so that should be treated
wood.
as a separate issue later.
It's on the general specification sheet. The color is weathered wood. It's
Ah,
on the
way
far
over
right
here.
above the color chips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
There's a stamp on it here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, the weathered wood would go with the colors you've picked for the siding. You might want to rethink that a little bit, because there are a lot of variations on the weathered wood, even from one manufacturer to another.
Okay.
And some of them look more like really cedar shingles than others. I know some of them are a little bit more brown.
Hmm.
But in your list of things that you're doing, I didn't notice your request for a decision on shingles.
Oh, and the list
You might
on
want
this
to
one.
treat that separately. You won't get there for a while, I think.
It may not have been listed in the description, but it is listed on the general specification sheet.
You're right, where it just says weathered wood.
Mhm.
What was the-
Well, notwithstanding Mr. Clark's opinion, which I respect, I would really like to see cedar shingles on that roof. I think it would be a real visual enhancement for the you're doing so much and you've got such a big project that you're tackling, why not go the extra step and do the right thing and put cedar on the roof?
Are you saying just for the vertical part?
Well, I think that part is critically important. The top, you don't see so much, so I'm not so concerned about that.
You need to do the entire building?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why don't you allow them to bring in a couple of samples of the
Excuse me.
new-
Yeah,
If I might,
Yeah.
you have to wait until it's your turn to speak, then you need to
Okay.
get up to a mic. Thank you.
well, the top roof shows quite a bit. It's tipped enough, pitched. And so you might want the same material on both.
Oh, I'd love to see cedar all around on the roof, absolutely.
Well, these other changes look pretty good.
Mhm.
In this photo, it looks like there's two different materials for the roof, for the
Yeah,
two different parts.
yeah, there's shingles, wooden shingles, and asphalt on top. It looks like a roll roofing.
This is
It's hard.
Yeah, the
shingles
side
on
parts
dark.
are wooden shingles.
It's hard to tell from the black and white if
Yeah.
they've weathered differently or if it's a different, because with the slope, the
Right.
weathering color might be different.
And they
I feel the same way about the
fancy
carriage
ones
barn, by the
over
way, cedar for the roof.
Yeah,
I would just hate to see them start moving forward with actually saving the building and then 20 years from now have a problem with the roof.
Especially considering the cost of cedar shingles
right,
compared to asphalt.
yeah.
Well, that's what you buy into when you buy an old house. I've got one.
And if,
Yeah.
but yeah, you're not the present owner yet.
Right.
Right, okay.
This picture of the barn, it looks like it had originally wooden shingles coming up the side, and then it was covered over with asphalt shingles.
Correct. And now at this point, they're both coming off, so you can see both layers of
Yeah,
them.
right. Yeah, with that curved roof effect, it really looks elegant.
Clear.
I'd like to see if we could hold off on the roof as far as the decision goes. In the meantime, you should get a lot of tickets for the lottery. Because if you win, I'm sure you'll
scare
go,
them.
you'll go
Want 'em to
definitely
do it.
with wooden shingles.
Then you won't have to do it.
So how do we do that?
Everything else, I think, looks great.
It's very
The shutters,
exciting.
did we make a decision on on the shutters? Because you would prefer no shutters on the house, period.
Yeah, and if they only show up on the front on that picture, don't they?
Well, and on this little alcove part, too.
Yeah.
My guess, and it's only a guess, is that it probably didn't have them originally. They were added later,
Looks like screens.
guessing. So if you don't want the shutters,
Right. The spacing of them looks
On
weird,
board
like
with
they,
that.
they butt into the corners of other things, and they butt up to each other. They just
yeah, they
look
look
like an
awkward
odd,
to me.
yeah.
This part looks like a screen on the end of the porch, so give privacy for someone looking in. This one looks like shutters, too. Yeah. And these kind of windows upstairs don't allow
No,
shutters. Yeah, I would go without them. They're
I'm
not,
fine with that.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, no shutters, I think. Okay.
It's not going through. There's no service here.
We don't have governance over this, but just for my own edification and curiosity, do you plan to restore the interior as well?
Yes.
Good for you. So how do we handle this?
Well, I think, in this paragraph at the beginning, it doesn't say anything about the roof. This description, proposed work, doesn't say anything about the roof. So I think if we approve of everything else that's here,
It's on the general specification sheet.
yeah, right,
It's
but it's
listed
not,
as asphalt. Second page.
yeah, I know, I saw it,
So it would be a motion to approve the application with the exception of the roof?
right. Right. Which includes, no shutters. And then come back as a minor change later for the color of the roof.
So are you saying you want to see a sample of the asphalt,
Yeah, as I say, there,
wood color asphalt? Is that what you're saying? Or I'm not sure what the question still is.
yeah, well, you put weathered wood down as a color for those shingles. And I'm saying that you may, if you look at what's available on the market, you might find something that's more appropriate, particularly with the colors you're using below. And also so that they look more like the cedar shingles that you really want to replace. And, they have different depth to them, one from one manufacturer to another. So I think it takes a little research on your part for that.
But is that saying, are you saying that you would like to see the fruits of our research to say specifically, you want to see the GAF weathered wood sample?
or
In the setting, we should have
whatever.
brought that with us, is that what you're saying, or?
Yes, that would help.
Because I didn't get that from Beth earlier. I mean, I could have brought a sample of it, I didn't know that that's what we needed.
Mhm.
If that would have been clear, then I would have brought it.
Yeah, the problem is that on a lot of houses, the roof doesn't stand out, whereas this one, it's a dominant feature, and it would be good to have more detail on it. You know, like when you're gonna have to replace siding where you're taking out a door, say, or replacing a door with a window. This siding's going to be put in there, and you may find some rot here and there that you have to replace the wooden cedar siding. But that gets painted over eventually, and it'll look more uniform. But the shingles, they stand out. It's a difference to, you know, sometimes we have cape houses with a 10 or 12-inch pitch, and the roof is a dominant feature. And other houses, they have a 6-inch pitch, and it's kind of disappears.
Right. Are you finding samples?
Yeah, I mean, I can show you what I have on my phone, but again, you're gonna, I'm not sure what exactly.
Yeah,
Is it something that you want to see, or is it something that you can tell us, at least, you know, as a guideline? Yes, if it looks similar to weathered wood, then you're gonna
well, it
let us,
should,
I would
let
it
us
wanna
should,
sort of
see it.
select.
I would want to see it.
yeah, the actual samples that, you know, they have boards made up with them. Because it should look like, I think, red cedar shingles they would use up there. And as opposed to what's called weathered wood, usually more or less mimics white cedar shingles that may have been stained.
I think the point is, I
Yeah,
think,
I thought Beth had showed me some samples actually in her office.
You need to decide if you want it to be real wood shingles or if you're gonna lean towards asphalt too, because I personally am
Yeah.
getting mixed. I'll be right back.
Yeah.
Right.
wanna-
I
we wanna-
forgot we had had a brief conversation about this, Beth and I, right?
we want to approve this application. I mean, I'm on the edge of desperate to approve this application. But, you know, it just, from an antiquarian point of view and a preservation point of view, that's my only hang-up, is that prominent roof, and what's that non-traditional material going to look like on that roof?
You know, the other interesting thing may be that the brand-new roof, which did, of course, this is probably obvious now, which was put on the last time 50, 60 years ago, which I found a picture on the internet. It was asphalt, dark asphalt on both sides of the roof.
But not in the
Looked very
mid-19th
nice.
century.
What's that?
Not in the mid-19th century, it wasn't asphalt.
No.
No.
Right.
Do we want to hear from the abutter?
Yeah.
Use the
You have
microphone.
to stand at the mic.
Charles Clark, Hallett's Door. I went over a project that happened to me when a car ran through my building, if you remember.
Right,
I had to go through a restoration process
Yep.
myself. The cost of replacing what I had to replace was phenomenal. And I can see where his point is, that they make these basically modified shingles that look like wood, and they would give it the effect that would be like a cedar shingle. And if you look at the buildings that were across from the post office, they redid their roofs, and within 16 years, they were redoing them again. The new materials that we bought for the store are fast-growing, they don't last, they're very expensive, and they don't meet the, we had to chuck a lot of the stuff. And I ended up going to have a boat builder custom make the wood for my store. So I'm looking at anything for an improvement on that building. Because it's asphalt shingles now, anything would be an improvement on what you're trying to do.
So, right. Yeah, this is the weathered wood. See that this is a maximum definition, which brings out, it's probably some of these tabs are thicker than others, you know, so that they have more texture, kind of. That's what this max definition is. Here's a max definition here. Colonial slate. This Shenandoah. Driftwood. They don't show Shenandoah.
Let's see the Shenandoah again. Uh-huh,
Oh, here it is.
yeah.
Max definition. This might be right.
Yeah.
Or this.
So you would,
Yeah.
either of those? Yeah. We're thinking of offering a compromise solution proposal. What about the max definition?
Is that just a thicker shingle?
Yeah.
So-
Yeah, some of the tabs are thicker, so they stand out, and it gives you a more texture appearance.
Do you want to look at it?
Yeah, can we look at that?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the colors are basically the same. So,
You can show them the Shenandoah too.
yeah. This is see the difference here? It's just max. Yeah. And then there was this other one,
The Shenandoah,
Shenandoah, I think, is here with max.
either of those.
Yeah.
I see the paint chips with both of those.
Oh, yeah. Here it is. Yeah, this is what that would be the dominant color. And, yeah,
I think I prefer
this,
the lighter because
this
it's such a
one.
big roof that it would be so dark if we went
Yeah.
with that one.
I would call it this,
Okay.
max definition.
So it's still weathered wood, but it's the max definition.
Yeah,
Okay.
good, okay.
All right. So we don't need a commitment or anything.
Right.
Okay, I'll move to approve the application, and I wish you all the luck with it.
Thank you.
And I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Do we need to sign something?
Yes.
Okay.
Two things, right? Because they still have to do the removal
Yeah,
application.
Yeah, I have to sign
No,
this.
they don't need to sign for the demo.
Oh, okay.
There's only one way to take,
Oh,
right?
well,
Is that what we decided, or
like
do we
to
have to
think
speak for
so.
that?
Well, they might change their mind and not
That is true,
demolish part of
it's
it.
true.
So we
But
should,
it's a partial demo, it's not a full
Yeah.
demo, correct?
you can sign these two.
That's why I attached it, because it's a partial demo.
yeah.
you have the top line there, and I'll sign on the bottom. One, not just one. Good. Okay, good. Thanks. Good luck with it. Okay, this is D3. That's that. Now, I have to get my paperwork straight.
This is 25.
Yeah, this is 25. I'm missing a sheet. That's this one. Oh, mixed in with it.
I see it way at the back. Right?
Nope.
Oh. This goes with the-
Do I have to go looking through my stuff? That's sort of an aspect of deja vu all over
Too
again.
much paper.
Both of them.
Well, we'll find it later.
All right.
Okay. Okay. The next item is concerned with some modifications to a house at 28 Vesper Lane. Lisa Weeks is the owner, and Thomas Moore Design is the agent. So, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thomas Moore from Thomas Moore Design Company, representing Lisa Weeks, who is here beside me. This particular project is an addition renovation to the house at 28 Vesper Lane. The addition includes a porch to the front and left side of the house, the extension of a dormer on the right side of the house, and we're replacing all the windows in the house and going from a 6/6 window to a 2/1 type of window. The windows will all be a Marvin clad window, white. On the outside, all the trim will match all the new trim, or any new trim, will match the existing trim on the house, and all the other materials will match the existing house. So there'll be some new white cedar shingle siding. There'll be, on the right side, we're adding some windows, moving some windows around, just to try to coordinate things inside and outside. So I'll be certainly happy to answer any questions you might have.
So this was built in 1936, so it's not too antique. like a true divided light?
It will be, they will be true
The
divided light
ones?
look windows, simulated.
Right.
Yeah.
So these small windows on the side of the second story, there's a grouping of 2 and 2. You're going to go to a 3 on that?
Yes, yes. We're also down below, we're adding a window in the, one of the smaller windows in the kitchen area, kitchen, and the 3 windows on that same side down on the first floor, the 3 larger double-hung windows, kind of pulling them together and boxing them out.
Yep.
On the front elevation, we're adding in a couple of windows, or the 2 at on the gable
There's
end.
1 now.
Yeah,
on the
there's 2
gable.
on the gable, 1 down below, they'll be underneath the porch.
Yep.
Is-
Oh, there's
So the portico, the front portico is going to remain, but you're going to eliminate the peak.
Yes.
On the right side elevation, the existing dormer looks like it'd be extended to the back.
That's correct.
By the way. Any questions, Bob?
No.
Are there any abutters present?
I think it adds a lot of visual appeal to the house. And I move to approve?
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Tom, you would sign off, please, on this? Here, on this. Good, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good luck with it.
Thank you.
we had continued one item from our last meeting, and that's concerned with solar panels that were on the front roof of 44 West Great Western Road. Gilbert DeFinis is the owner, and Paul Eaton from Trinity Solar is the agent. And there was a need for a landscape plan to be developed for that property.
Hello.
Hi, I'm Richard Dauphiné.
Do we have to untable? Move to
Yes.
untable?
Oh, sorry.
What is that?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now. Let's see. So, Paul,
Yes, Paul Eaton.
could you speak to these additions?
So we're proposing to do some plantings to block the view from the road,
Yep.
so,
It really stands out, and even if you Google the property and do street level views, and of course if you drive out there you can see, but as it is now, it's very visible. And so this array you have here, they're fairly quick growing. The cryptomeria and the green giant arborvitae and
I'm going to have to
the
show
blue
you.
and cypress.
I don't have.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I had laying you between this. Yeah, so these are the listings for item A, B, C, et cetera.
Yeah.
It's a mix anyway, so it wouldn't look like a wall growing there. Guess-
And there's already a berm there along,
Right,
The front of the
Yes.
road, yes.
yes.
yeah, so.
It's
right.
about 3 feet above the road.
Are these heights the heights that they're going to be as planted or as they will grow to?
Now, well, the giants can grow anywhere up to 50 feet. So-
these
The green
dimensions,
giants.
my question is, are these dimensions as planted?
Yeah, where it says 8 to 10 foot.
You're planning 8 to
Yes,
10.
yes, yes.
Yes,
Sorry.
yeah.
Do you have any objection if we would just do the thuja and not the Leland cypress? The green giants, sorry. And,
Instead of the green giants?
No.
just all green giants, with the
Instead of-
exception of the two deciduous trees.
There is a couple of cryptomerias too.
Yeah, we would put a green giant there instead. We went to the nursery, and the guy said those things are going to blow over and break so easily that it really doesn't make,
This is the great worry about this, is that
yeah.
this may do the job
Yeah,
when it's planted,
Right.
but the survival rate of the trees is,
Well, and that's what he said. The thujas, they don't have natural enemies. And talking to this fellow at the nursery yesterday, he was very informative. He says they're not going to get all the diseases that some of the other trees get.
right.
So it was very appealing to us to not think of a tree that all of a sudden has, something dripping off, and now you get this row, and it's all just a big mess. I don't want a big mess. Yeah.
problem with fast-growing trees is, yes, they grow fast,
Yeah.
but they
Right.
tend to be brittle. And they can
Right, and-
topple, they can uproot.
Yeah, and
And a
he
high
said you
wind.
don't have that problem as much with these trees. That's why we kind of
So
thought
you
that
would-
was better.
Drop the Leland cypress too?
Yes, because
Yes.
those in particular, he says, they in the wind will blow sideways, and then they're in the yard looking like this.
Yeah.
Is how it was described to us.
No, it
So-
happens. I
Yeah.
had Leland's, and that's,
So, I mean, then we're stuck with, I mean, how do you reroute that? We don't want it to look worse. We want it, anything to be an improvement.
I have a cryptomeria in my house, and I got it at Mahoney's and took it home in my station wagon, and it just fit. So it was about 6 foot tall. I mean, it was really taking up the whole car, pretty much. And it's done very well. And, you know, it's standing by itself on a lawn, so it's getting hit by the wind in all directions.
He also said those grow to be really tall, you know, if just left unchecked. And I'm not an arborist or anything near to that.
Mine has been growing at maybe 6-8 inches a year. It's now maybe 12 feet after 8 years.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah. So like 6 feet in 8 years.
I mean, if you want us to keep the
But it-
cryptomeria, we can do that.
It has interesting foliage, you know,
Okay.
and it's green all year round, but it has interesting, it's columnar, tapered, and, but has a nice, so it would be a variation in a sense, you know, you don't want.
Something
them all-
different.
All the same,
Right.
because then it ends up looking like a wall. And some people, they just trim across the top and it's
No,
one
that's
flat thing.
not my vision for it either. Yeah.
Keep
so you want to eliminate the Leland cypress trees?
Yes.
that-
And we would put, again, something in its place. It's
That's what I
not like
mean.
we're taking them
You would
away.
substitute.
Correct.
Yes, yes.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
Yes.
What would you substitute?
another giant.
You can enjoy it.
Arborvitae.
Yeah.
It could be different size ones.
And they also had some, I forget what they called them, but they were some with a golden color in them as well. So if you wanted, like, not all to be the same, we could do that. I just, you know,
Yep. Good.
So these solar panels are really important to you. This is going to
Oh,
be an
yes.
expensive landscaping project, I'm sure you know.
yes, well, thank you, Trinity.
Trinity is-
Oh, they are?
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah.
I guess this project is important to you then.
Everyone is.
Yeah. The other thing is where, when my husband brought it down, the chairman stated that we should put them up the driveway, so we added those.
Right.
But with the addition of those, there's one that we were going to add over to the other side of the driveway. I would like to eliminate that, feeling that that is, it's just going to be redundant, and it's going to prohibit our view getting in and out the driveway.
Yeah,
Is that okay?
Yep.
Sounds reasonable.
All right, thank you.
good.
Sure. So,
Yeah, this one would go.
5 Leland cypress will be replaced with 5 green giant arborvitae.
Yes.
And the cryptomeria stays, right?
Right.
And then this green giant to the right of the driveway goes.
Yes.
And these two, the two of them, Acer rubrum,
Those,
staying.
yes.
with any butters? No? Well, I'll make a motion to accept the plan.
I'll second it.
Very good. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain.
Okay. Let's see.
Thank you.
Yeah, I guess because it was tabled, it doesn't just, a modified. You can sign.
Right. Okay. So, let's see. Yeah, if you sign it here. I'll fill the rest in there.
Okay.
Good.
All set?
Thanks, Gil.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Now, the first item is the gentleman in the back there now. Let's finish this paperwork and I'll call you. Okay, now we'll have to untable this next one.
I'll move to untable it.
Yeah.
Second.
This is item 19A022, which we have proposed to untable it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the item is concerned with modifications at 118 Driftwood Lane. And we have Alan Osgood.
Yes.
Good.
Alan Osgood, representing the owners.
Yep.
And my apologies to the board for being late.
Accepted.
The the owners had requested a change in the entryway that turned out to be not a minor change. So this is our third application.
Right, I thought it was the
So,
same.
We designed a porch. Originally, it was 6 by 23 with a hip roof, an open porch entry. We had, on previous application, had received permission to raise the door, put a new doorway in, take the oval door out, a new door with side lights. And we designed this porch, and we thought that it looked very nicely on that large gable side. But we ran into a situation with utilities on the right-hand side over by the kitchen windows. So it has now been shortened to 5 by 18. Again, it is an open porch with wooden balusters and railings. And I don't know if you've been to the job or visited, but the owners have used cedar trim. They've used mahogany decking. They've used cedar rails and balusters. And it's come along very nicely. So that is our proposal, is the 5 by 18 covered porch.
As has been observed by this committee before, you can barely see this property from Driftwood.
Yeah, it really can't be seen. It's
The riverside really is
yeah, it's
the most view, and that,
that
the change in this porch from that view of Fallon's Pond is
Yeah.
minimal.
Yeah.
So I don't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, I don't know if you picked up or noticed it, but the bay window has been removed and a mullion is put in its place.
Yeah.
And as we discussed it at one of the other previous meetings, the additions siding were replaced with white cedar shingles. And I think that's the way the owners are going to go eventually. But it has come out very nicely.
Anything else?
I think that looks
Okay, I move to accept the application.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you. Thank you for your patience.
We look forward to your fourth visit when you have something new to.
I'm not.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Any other business? Robert? Okay. Then
Move to adjourn?
we can move to adjourn.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Next meeting is